Hello everyone, just here today with a quick privilege escalation video regarding Utilman bypass. And while this bypass is extremely effective, it is also has some of the highest requirements of any bypass. It has two requirements to name. First, that the EDR tool installed on the workstation is not loaded at the kernel, in which case it might actually block this attack. And second, you have to have physical access to the device. As the saying goes, if you have physical access to the device, you own that device. Simple as. And if you're wondering what Utilman is, it is this little ease of access and accessibility options that loads right here for things like magnifier, on-screen keyboard, contrast, etc. And the reason that it's a target for privilege escalation is because this button loads at NT authority system level context, meaning if we can replace this with a command prompt, we can have system level access to the device before we even log into the system. So, let's say you have your Windows 10 image as well as your Windows 10 repair disk. In this case, I have the ISO image mounted on the drive. And you can either have a CD put in, or if it even has a CD drive anymore, most people don't, or more commonly a USB or a network drive. And we're just going to repair this computer, go through the troubleshooting to spawn a command prompt. And while we don't have full access, we do have some basic commands available to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy we're going to copy Utilman. There we go. Onto our base C drive, just as a backup. And after that, we are going to repeat this, replacing Utilman with CMD. There we go. And just like that, we're going to reboot the computer, now with Utilman replaced with CMD. So, we're at the login screen. We don't have credentials for the Vagrant user, but now that we've replaced Utilman with CMD, we can just hit our little ease of access accessibility options down here, spawn a command prompt, and we can see we have control over the NT authority system account at the system level shell. And at this point, we have full control over this device. So, what we're going to do is we're going to detect this using event code 4688, which, if you remember, is essentially saying, hey, process A spawns process B. Think of this as child process creation event code. And we're temporarily going to keep this host specific in the meantime. And what I mentioned earlier about this being very EDR specific comes into play here. Because we only have Splunk and a basic Windows Defender installed on this host, it is not going to have visibility on when Utilman is actually being replaced by CMD. This means we have zero visibility on the actual binary replacement, and the only thing that we have visibility on that we can use for this detection is abnormal commands from Utilman. So rather than building a detection for when Utilman is replaced by CMD, this will strictly be suspicious commands coming from Utilman. And what we can do to start this off is we can add the creator process. That is the wrong spacing. Creator process of Utilman. I'm fine with keeping this hard-coded as C Wisdom See Windows System 32 because it's always going to pop up in that location for the ease of access button on the login page. And if we look at the process command lines, all of these are suspicious. We should not see Utilman running NetUser, or definitely not Mimikatz, definitely not adding and deleting users from the system, definitely not checking their privilege credentials, and probably not drawing a CMD window. But rather than keeping this specific and saying, hey, flag if only these commands are run, let's make it non-specific. Let's make it so that we get alerted anytime Utilman. Actually, let's even shorten this even further just to make it pretty. Let's say anytime Utilman does not have the very basic utilman/debug command. This is the command, and as far as I can find in documentation, this is really the only command that should ever spawn from Utilman, specifically because that's what happens whenever you push the actual ease of access button and pop open the window. So, what we have now, if I actually remove this host, is we have a very simple detection for, hey, alert me anytime Utilman, or something that we believe is Utilman, is creating another process, and the command line is outside of the normal bounds. What this does is it alerts us anytime a suspicious command is fired from Utilman that is outside of the normal parameters. And here we can actually see the activity in timestamp, what the user was doing. And as always, I know this was a little bit of a shorter video than usual, but I hope you learned something. Please join me again next time.